And a very pleasant good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Tornado Talk, virtual edition of Tornado Talk. And happy to be joined this evening by two more members of the Brevard College Athletics coaching staff, head cross country and track and field coach Darryll Patrick and assistant coach Jordan Tager will be talking all things Brevard College cross country and track and field this evening. Darryll, thanks for joining the program.
Hey, Phil, how's it going? Thanks for having us.
Yeah, great to have you. And Coach Jordan Tager, appreciate you joining the show as well.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, guys, do want to start with a bit of a review of the 2019 season. And we'll start with cross country, the fall of 2019. A successful year overall. Gavin Morgan going to the ECAC championships, a strong showing at the USA South Conference championships as well. Also, Michael Fader making that trip to the ECAC championship. So plenty to celebrate during the cross-country season. We'd like to hear from each of you as far as, what was accomplished for the Tornadoes this past fall in the area of cross-country.
Well, it was my first year being a head cross-country coach. I started during the track year, so it was my first year as a cross-country coach, and I thought we had tremendous success with what we had, and great group of kids. That just love to go out there and just run every day and enjoy the trails and just work hard and compete. And we saw some success throughout from the start to end. With Gavin starting out running a decent time at our opener at a 5K over Tusculum. I thought that was a good sign that he was going to have a good year. And so he just continued to keep grinding, keep working. And, he started seeing his PR starting to drop each and every meet. So it was good to see, the hard work they put in over the summer really paid off. So he ended up running really well at Charlotte mid-year over at McAlpine Park, super fast course and super hot day too. So on a Friday evening. So if it were better conditions, who knows how much faster he could have went. And so he dropped his time down to, I think, 26:39, something like that. And so couldn't ask for a good start for him with me coaching him as a sophomore. So very happy with that. And then, you mentioned Michael Fader. He started out just kind of rounded up, getting in shape. And then so you started seeing him starting to improve probably right after Charlotte. And so he started really working hard that last month or so and was able to run at ECACs up there in New York. And we also had another runner, Salomon Turner, who I saw running one day on the track, and I was like, man, you look like you could run. So eventually persuaded him, and he came out, and great kid, great attitude. Someone who was kind of older, so he kind of had that natural leadership, maturity to kind of settle things if things get out of hand, which they don't. But he's always there to keep it calm and just go out there and have fun, enjoy the sport. And I couldn't ask for a good start to the cross-country career for me as a head coach. And, I'm excited to see where this goes.
Jordan, anything to add as far as that 2019 cross-country season and what you witnessed from the Tornadoes?
Yeah, I think just kind of like what Coach Patrick said, it was a really and good starting point for all of us, having a whole new brand new staff to the program and pretty much runners that are just kind of getting started in their career. And so it's kind of fun for all of us to sort of learn together and grow together. And it's always fun to see how much they improve so quickly. And just, I think it was a successful start, and we're looking forward to keeping the ball rolling.
Coach Patrick, you mentioned junior Salomon Turner. He, along with senior Molly Brown, were named to the USA South Conference cross-country all-sportsmanship team. So two great honors there for those two. Can you talk a little bit about the senior Molly Brown and what she brought to the table?
Oh, yeah. Molly, she was a sweet girl, works hard, really wants to improve each and every day. And so she doesn't ask any questions. She just goes out there and does it, works extremely hard each and every day. But great work ethic in the classroom too, like tremendous work ethic. And I think she still had a 4.0 or 3.97 or something like that. So that tells you the dedication she has all the way around. And so, that was a no-brainer on the sportsmanship. She was always a positive attitude, willing to help others, support the other girls on the team, with their workouts or whatever it is. And so it was a no-brainer. Then, again, Salomon, good, excellent choice, good leader, maturity, and, was very helpful throughout the process.
And then after the cross-country season concluded, you all turned the page and began the track and field season, which includes, those distance events with some of those cross-country runners, but certainly plenty more. Now, the season was interrupted just like every other spring sport across college athletics, and you all were only able to compete in one meet, the UNC Pembroke event in Pembroke, North Carolina, back in early March, but some great results that afternoon, including a win by the 4x100 meter team on the men's side, and plenty of great results on the throwing sides of things as well. I'd love to hear from each of you as far as what was accomplished at UNC Pembroke in that meet in March.
I'm still pretty torn about the shortening of the season with everything happening, but I thought we had a good start, a great start, with obviously, like you mentioned, the sprinters and the throwers, and I think with the 9-10 weeks of training, I think it was starting to show that we were getting prepared, we were getting ready for the more important weeks down the road, and you mentioned the 4x1, great start. But I'll let Coach Tager talk more about that. He's been working with them more this year, and but in terms of the throwers, it just started to click that day. And crazy weather. It was raining 2 days straight in a row, so it was a mud pit. They had to make little boards walkway to get to the ring, the shot and disc ring, and it was crazy. It was still very windy that day. And the wind was coming at them. So, for them to do that was a good sign that, we were going to have a good year and we were going to see some good PRs and hopefully some competitive throws at the conference level, hopefully score some points. But it was a fun experience, a long drive to the other end of North Carolina. And we made the best of our situation and, just had fun with it. So, but I'll let Coach Tager talk more about the sprinters.
Yeah, it was definitely a good debut for us for the season. It was kind of sad it was our first and our last meet, like Coach said. But the sprinters, definitely a pretty talented group. A lot of them coming from that football background and kind of have that football mentality, and so they're willing to put in the work and they kind of know what it takes to be athletic. And so really we're just sort of getting things started in terms of really getting into shape. They really showed up pretty well and were able to win at Pembroke. So that was pretty awesome. And like Coach said, in very difficult conditions. Pretty much all around the track, there was a crazy headwind. And so, but they did a great job competing and they were able to get the win and they looked pretty smooth, especially for their first relay of the whole year. So definitely it was exciting. And what's really exciting about them is all of them are coming back. We didn't really lose anybody. They're all going to be here for 2020 or for 2021 track and field. And so we're definitely looking forward to that.
Coach Tager, we'll stick with you on this next one. You mentioned it, football, and how that plays such a big role in a successful track and field program. And the two sports work together so well, in so many facets, as far as complementing each other. And certainly Brevard College has had a lot of success on the football side of things in recent times, most successful season in school history this past fall. But certainly the track and field program not only helps the football program, but you all benefit a bunch from those student athletes. Can you talk even further about that synergy between football and track and field?
Yeah, I think they're extremely motivated. They want to be fast on the track, but they also want to be fast year round. And they kind of know that they need that 40 speed on the football field. They know that 40 speed also translates well to the 100, to the 200, and to the 400. And so I just think it kind of keeps them hungry, keeps them hungry for competition in the fall, and keeps them hungry for competition in the spring, just in terms of getting faster, getting stronger, and being competitive, and just being an athlete, no matter what that entails. So.
And Coach Patrick, anything to add to that? And, in particular, perhaps the throwing side of things as well. A great fit for a lot of those football student athletes.
Yeah, I mean, so what I noticed, we kind of, looking at the training and stuff, and we're trying to figure out what works for us, like what we're trying to accomplish, and what makes them enjoy coming out every day working hard. And Coach Tager mentioned it, competitive, and so we would, days that it would rain a lot during the day, so we have to have practice indoors. We would get creative with our workouts and make relay races or something where it's more competitive to make it more fun and to keep that competitive juice all year long. And so for the throwers, same thing where some days we'll mark their throws, see if they're improving or whatnot, or the kind of friendly competition amongst each other who's doing well that day. But yeah, I mean, most football players can translate to the track, whether you're an offensive lineman, defensive lineman, can be a thrower most of the time, or even linebackers, secondaries, like Q, Quentin Jackson, can be a good sprinter, or wide receivers, good sprinters. So, I mean, it translates all around. And I'm very thankful that our football coaches allow us to work with them in the spring. And so they're very flexible with that. And, again, like Coach Tager said, with that competitiveness, it's nice to have that and bring that to the track side where, I mentioned several times, like track is an individual sport, but it still brings that team culture from that football background. And so it's nice to have that all year long.
A strong group coming back next year, both for cross country and track and field. And I know the two of you have been on the recruiting trail as well, and have a lot of exciting newcomers on their way. Also, a lot to be excited about as far as the 2020-21 season, both cross country and track and field. Coach Patrick, if we can start with you on this one. Can you give us a little bit of a preview of what Tornado fans can expect from those two programs and the sorts of expectations you may have heading into this next season?
Yeah. So first, like Coach Tager did a tremendous job recruiting, bringing in, helping, getting in contact with a lot of coaches, a lot of different athletes. So right now we brought in about in total track and field, cross country combined, about 15 or so, 16 student athletes for this coming year. And it's a good start. And so about 10 or 11 of them are from the distance side. Because we were kind of smaller on that side in terms of the track and field. So I kind of wanted to balance that all out. And so we kind of focused more on that. And but we got some tremendous talent coming in from everywhere: Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, around this area. And so about 4 or 5 that I think, can contribute right away. And in terms of the cross country side and be very competitive and, hopefully my goal is to be a top 5 team next year in the conference level at the USA South for cross country. And names to look out for is Dalton Hawley from Florida. Great kid, works hard. George Wells from South Carolina. Garrett Hardaway, great kid. Great background, very knowledgeable sport. Jacob Sarazi from here in North Carolina, very knowledgeable, hardworking. Jacob Moore here right up the road in Asheville, all great kids. And I can go on and on. Like each kid is going to contribute and put a stamp to this new cross country and track program. And I'm very excited. Can't wait to coach them up in August and see where it goes.
Coach Tager, like to add to that from Coach Patrick?
Yeah, man, I second everything Coach Patrick said. But yeah, I think we're just excited, honestly, to surprise people too. I mean, this past cross country season, we were pretty small in terms of our depth. But now I think people are going to be really surprised with the type of runners that we have coming in. And what's interesting too is they're all, from a cross country standpoint, they're all pretty much right within maybe plus or minus 20 or 30 seconds of each other from their high school 5K PR. So that's pretty exciting just to have that much talent that clustered together, and they're all going to be freshmen. So we're just really looking forward to what success comes our way this fall and the spring.
Mm-hmm.
Also will be the first year of full-time membership in NCAA Division III, thus be eligible for NCAA Division III National Championship competition. Coach Patrick, could you educate our audience a little bit on what it takes and how that works as far as qualifying for the national championships, both cross country and track and field?
Yeah, absolutely. So, so for cross country, everyone gets, you gotta have at least 5 meets that you gotta attend, right? But then, and one of them is including the regional meet. And so we're in the southeast region. It's the biggest region in the country. It's humongous. I think it's technically there's like 60 schools in it, but I think roughly about 45 race it. You're as long as you're a member of the USC or not USC, USTF CCCA. You can run the regional championship, and usually they take 2 automatic qualifiers, placement wise. So they're automatic, and then there's a ranking system, and it can get a lot complicated calculating. If you're ranked, middle of the year or late in the season, but you had a bad race, they take all that into consideration in terms of getting an at-large. So if you're like 3rd and 4th, you're on the bubble kind of thing. So it's all based on like ranking or who you beat throughout the year. At my previous school, we finished 4th, and we happened to beat earlier in the year a couple of teams that were ranked in the top 10, top 15. They took that in consideration, and so they allowed the 3rd and 4th place teams in our region to go. So it fluctuates each year, but our region automatically gets 2. There's some regions in the Northeast, like the New England area, they get like 7 or 8 automatic qualifiers just because there's more schools up there and more competitive for now. But we've been talking these past couple of years at our conference meetings to kind of change that system to where we all get a kind of a fair, even amount, and then use the rankings as something else. But that's how you qualify for nationals as a team. You can qualify as an individual as well. I think it's the next 8 or so, not from the team. The first 2 teams are all qualifying teams. So you can finish mid-20s and still have a chance to make nationals as an individual. So that can happen. In terms of track, it's all based on usually the top 16 marks or times by a certain day. I think this year it's usually like the 1st or 2nd week of May is the deadline to hit, see where you're at. If you're top 16 or top 20, then based on the event, then you qualify for nationals, which is like 2 weeks later. That one is pretty nerve-wracking because you don't know. You might run a fast time early on. You're like, no one's going to touch that. But then all of a sudden, when it comes peaking time, and other teams are trying to get that mark, and all of a sudden you go from being 6th or 7th, best time or best mark, all of a sudden you're 18th on the last day because everyone's trying to get that. And so it's very nerve-wracking to make sure you're on your A game from start to finish in the track side to be ready for the championships in May.
And Coach Tager, from the student athlete perspective, to have the opportunity to qualify for a national championship competition has got to be a great motivator in terms of goal setting.
Yeah. I think it's just, next year it's going to start in the fall, and we're going to sit down with our teams and just be like, look, guys, this is where we are. This is where we want to be this year. By the time you guys are sophomores, by the time you guys are juniors, by the time you're seniors, so I think we kind of have to stagger our approach in terms of what's possible for us. But I think as a coach, your goal should always be to qualify for the national championship series. Whether if it takes you that season or if it's 7 years down the road, you always got to be thinking about it so you can plan with the end in mind. But yeah, I think you're right. It's definitely going to be a huge source of motivation for our cross country teams and also our track and field athletes as well.
The USA South Conference Cross Country Championship set for October 31st. That's Halloween in Montgomery, Alabama. November 14th, the regional championships for NCAA Division III in Shenandoah, Virginia. And then November the 21st, the national championships in Terre Haute, Indiana. So NATO Nation, be sure to circle those dates on your calendar. And also the regular season schedule is up at bctornadoes.com. Trips to Spartanburg, South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, Charlotte, and Salisbury, North Carolina. Coach, can you give us a little insight as far as that regular season schedule and some of those meets?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I like to try to stay relatively close, especially during the early part of the season, just just get some races under our belt, but very competitive. And the very first meet, extremely competitive. It's what they call an eye opener. So, and there's a reason why. It's because to see if you came in shape or not. And so it's very fun. It's actually Coach Tager's idea, because he ran here at Brevard. He'll tell you more about later. But so we decided to go that route. I think that'll be a good start with our kids, even though they're most of them are young. I think it'll be a good fit to see where they're at and see what college training's really like. And so that's why they call it the eye opener. And then we go some of the meets we've been to before. McAlpine, Queens University. They host like 3 or 4 meets throughout the year, but we decided to change it, go to a different time. And still gonna be fast course. And most of these courses are relatively fast. So they get the opportunity to try to bust out some PRs and see where they're at early in the season. But at the end of the day in conference, throw times out the window. It's all about placement, trying to see where you are as a team. If you run a PR, great. It's awesome. But at the end of the day, it's all about team contribution and try to, make sure you're there. You're first on the team or fifth. Like make sure we're relatively close together, up near the front, of course. But so I'm really excited for that. And then like you said, this is our first year being Division III, and I'm gonna be extremely pumped when it comes to the regional championship and start showing them who Brevard College is. And it's going to be a great experience. Can't wait.
You mentioned the events on the regular season schedule, all within striking distance of Western North Carolina, which means Tornado fans would be able to make the trip and see the cross-country runners in action. I've never asked you this question. I'd like to hear from both of you. If someone were to go to a cross-country meet, a collegiate cross-country meet for the first time and has never been to one, how do they approach from a spectator perspective, taking in all the action? What are the things they might ought to be looking for, and perhaps where should they position themselves on the course? Any advice to a newcomer to collegiate cross country?
So there's two different ways. So if you're one of those that you're very active, you still like to run and run around, that's probably your best bet. Just because most of the time cross country you're not doing circles, doing loops. You're usually going out a mile or out a half a mile, going in the woods or going in some other field. So if you're still an active person, still like to run around, get some cardio in, you run around with them too, kind of, so to speak, back and forth. That's what I do as a coach. That's what Coach Dager does. We try to run around, get our miles in as well. But if you're one of those that just wants to, stand and watch around, I try to get in the center a lot of the times, trying to, don't be right there at the starting line, kind of be away from it at the distance, but try to be where you can see most race. You're not going to see all the race, like, ever. If you do, that's probably not a very good cross-country course, in my opinion. But, you want to be able to, move around a little bit and try to get majority of the spots. You're not going to see all of it. Of course, you want to see the start and the finish, more importantly.
Anything to add there, Coach Dager?
Yeah, he definitely covered it, but I think it's just, as soon as you would show up, I would try to get a hold of a course map and sort of like a figure out the sort of inner loops and outer loops and all the kind of chaos with the course ensues. But it's probably the best part, most exciting part would be the start. Just watching sometimes 10, 20, 30, 40 teams all start at the same time is pretty chaotic and pretty sort of adrenaline pumping. And then the finish is also pretty fun to watch as well, just kind of seeing what people have left and watching people come from behind and pass people and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Very good. Appreciate those tips, and hopefully some of NATO Nation can make it to some of those events this season. Would like the audience to get to know each of you a little more and your background. And Coach Patrick, we'll start with you. You're entering your second season here at Brevard College, and looks like it's going to be a great one, as we've mentioned. But you came from a very successful program and another member of the USA South Conference, Berea College, both as an assistant coach, and then you also ran for Berea. But I know you've been at this sport for a long time. If you can, in summary, tell folks kind of where you came from and how you fell in love with running.
Yeah. So I started running when I was in middle school. So my basketball coach, who was also the track coach, later on, he kind of moved up in the ranks as I kind of moved up. It was kind of weird, but he told us we had to do a sport before basketball because that was my sport. I really love basketball, and but it was either soccer, cross country, or football. And I tried soccer early on, that it panned out, and I was way too small to play football. I'd get broken in half. So I was like, I'll try this cross country thing out. And so obviously didn't like it starting out. I was like running 2 miles, 3 miles, like you're out of your mind, and running in basketball shoes and stuff. But, just kind of stuck with it just because my coaches thought I could be a good runner down the road. And but again, I did it to stay in shape for basketball. But then right around my late junior year of high school, I started really taking it serious and, listening to my coach, listening to, running in the summertime when you want to go and have fun at the pool or, play basketball, shoot hoops with friends, so I decided to take it, more serious, and I started seeing more success. I wasn't a great runner by any means, but enough to go to college and run at the college level. And so a lot of my influence I got from my high school coach, in terms of the passionate side, striving to be better. Don't just settle for, you had a great race that day, but I know you can do better kind of attitude. And then when I got to college, like you said, I went to Berea College in our conference and learned under another great coach, Coach Mike Johnson. And, probably the nicest human being you'll ever meet. I really mean that. And him and his wife are just wonderful people. And so I learned a lot in terms of being compassionate and just being a great person. And so I kind of use a lot of their mentality or philosophy into that kind of coaching with me, where I'm very passionate, but I also want to show that I love and care for you, and I want you to do well in the real world. And so I'd say those were the two biggest influences. And then right around again my junior year of college, I was thinking maybe I could try this coaching thing out, and so I really hit the books hard and started studying it more and finding the ins and outs. And so I was thankful enough for him and Coach Jacobowski over at Berea. They took me under their wing right after I graduated and stayed there for a while and just learned what it takes to actually be a coach. And so again, I want to bring a lot of that from what I've learned from them, bring it here at Brevard. Just kind of add a little bit more of a twist, more fun, and patient attitude, and just trying to understand it's a grind, and not just day in and day out, it's month, years to see that success. And but I contribute a lot of that of why I'm coaching to them, and why I want to be able to carry that torch and hopefully influence others to be coaches hopefully down the road, or at least still love running, because I know running can be an acquired taste, and it takes years to really find that love and passion a lot of times. So that's what I try to hopefully bring to this program, is that love and care, and understand it. It's not easy though. It's a lot of hard work involved, and a lot of hours that you don't see. And so that's kind of my background of why I got into the coaching realm and why I wanted to be here.
Very good. Well, I'm glad those roads all took you here to Brevard College. And Coach Tager, a 2014 alumnus of Brevard College. You've got some Florida roots, and currently in the education profession, as well as you're coaching at Brevard College. If you can do the same as Coach Patrick just did, kind of give us a run through on your background and how sports and education have all been part of the equation.
Sure. Yeah. So kind of similar to Coach Patrick, I first started running my freshman year in high school, just to get in shape for the basketball team. Really, I was pretty big into basketball at the time. I was a little bit taller than most other freshmen at the time, and my grandfather was a pretty serious basketball player at Kent State, and my dad played pretty good basketball, and they were all basketball coaches. So I was surrounded by it for sure, and I ended up kind of falling in love with it, and the basketball dream kind of fizzled away. And it took a while. Like Coach Patrick said, it wasn't just I went to cross country practice and I loved it. It took, and it's definitely like running in Florida is definitely a unique sport, just in terms of the heat and the humidity and kind of dealing with just how tough the summer training can be on you. And so it took me probably my whole freshman year. I really didn't like it. And I remember I would go home every day and kind of ask my mom, like, can I quit? She'd be like, nope, you started, you got to finish it.
Yep.
And so I went the whole year. And then that summer, so going into my sophomore year, our coach, she took us to a cross country camp out near Denver, Colorado. And when I was out there, I just totally fell in love with running. I fell in love with running in the mountains. I fell in love with the sport as a whole. I fell in love with the process of training. When I got back, it was just a total game changer, basically. And I kind of stopped basketball altogether and just went all into cross country. And really, my high school coach, just like Coach Patrick said, I mean, she obviously she wanted us to be successful as a team, but she really was concentrating on developing us as beings first and runners second. And so I really think that kind of formed me into the person that I am today, and kind of really helped me grow and help me figure out how to operate in the world as a young kid. And then when I got towards the senior year, I wanted to run in college, and I wasn't quite good enough to go to a Division I school or anything like that. And I realized that I love running in the mountains. And at the time, it was a guy named Coach Galloway was the Brevard college coach, and I liked him. We kind of meshed well, and I ended up going to Brevard, and once again kind of fell in love with the mountains. Just really enjoyed training here. I think it's one of the best places to train in the entire United States, just with all the trails and the different access that we have. And so at Brevard was an amazing experience. It was interesting because I came in with 10 other freshman boys, and we really bonded and kind of got close together. But we ended up going through 3 different college coaches here at Brevard. That was happening, I really there were some times when I was kind of upset by it and kind of bummed out. But really we bonded together as a team, and the team is kind of what kept us all here. And at the time I tried to see the positives of it. I tried to kind of figure out what I could learn from each coach, because I was really lucky to be coached by some excellent people. A guy named Dr. Jack Daniels, who is a major running celebrity in the running world. But he's a 2-time Olympian, and he's coached a lot of impressive people. He came around Brevard for a couple of years, and so he was coaching us, and that was pretty fantastic to learn from him. And then I had a couple other coaches, a guy named Coach Thomas Kaysen, and a coach named Adam Malloy. And really, I just kind of took a little bit from all of them, and really decided that I wanted to be a coach one day. And I also enjoyed education. My parents, my grandparents were all teachers. My wife now, Sarah, she went to Brevard. She was an education major at the time. She's also a teacher. And so kind of I wanted to sort of blend my passions together, teaching and coaching. And I graduated and ended up moving down. My wife and I, we got married about a year out of college, and we moved down to Florida. And I ended up coaching and teaching at the high school I went to. So that was pretty cool to go back to my old roots and coach the team there. And I coached cross country and track, and had some success, and just really fell in love with teaching and coaching. And I'm just really excited to be back up here and kind of go back to my roots again and help the program grow.
Very good. Now, the third member of the coaching staff is veteran distance running expert Chad Newton, 2-time Olympic trials qualifier for the marathon back in the 1990s. Can each of you talk about what Coach Newton brings to the program, and just how fortunate these student athletes are to get to learn from one of the best?
Yeah, Coach Newton has been a great help so far. He came to me, he texted me, reached out to me last summer, actually, right around July, and said he wanted to come. He lived around the area. He still trained down here. He wanted to, come and help the program. So we met and talked, and we hit it off right off the bat. And definitely feel like you said, from the his experience as a distance runner, can get a lot of knowledge from him. And so yeah, I'm very appreciative of his help so far. And he's very straightforward, and he's kind of the old school kind of mentality a little bit, and what's what we need a little. And so he brings a lot of that, but he brings a lot of humor. He's very funny guy. And so at the end of the day, he does care and wants to see them grow as as human beings and get them ready for the real world as well. And that's kind of what we've been developing here as a program. As Coach Tager said, we want to be more, better people more than, how fast you are. Like the running, that's great, but it's more about being a people. And so Coach Newton brings a lot of that as well. And he comes and helps out, 2 to 3 days a week during the cross country season, and then track side, helps with the distance team. And so he's been a great help. Couldn't ask for better.
Tornado fans, for the most part, should be well aware that the cross country and distance running legacy at Brevard College is an exceptional one. Coaches like Norm Whittick and Dave Rinker, brought multiple national championships to Brevard College in past decades, and you all are trying to carry that torch further to, even more success. Can you talk about that as far as the legacy of Brevard College? Perhaps those two coaches in particular, and what they've meant for the program, and how you guys are trying to keep that tradition going strong.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, Coach Whittick and Coach Rinker, they've talked to me several times. I see Norm all the time. I live very close to him, so he's been a help mentoring me and understanding what it takes here at Brevard, and understanding everything that surrounds it. And Dave Rinker, like I say, he's talked to me a couple of times, and they still host the running camp here every summer. And so that's a great time to learn from them, understand why they do what they do, or how they were successful in the past. And so I got some ideas from them. But the best thing they told me was to, just continue to be myself, because it's a different time, different kids, different kind of athlete. And so just kind of, bring in my youthfulness, but, still carrying that knowledge and passion for the sport of loving and of running. And so, with them, I use that as a good recruiting tool. Guys, it's been a success before, it can be again. Because we do have the running trails, the numerous amount of running trails within an hour drive around. So, I use that all the time, and show off all the championships that we've won before, to show them we can do it, we can be successful. And so, the kids that we're bringing in each year, they're buying into that, and that they understand. It's not going to happen overnight, though. We do have a goal, trying to make it to nationals, try to win nationals each year, but we understand it's a process. And, so hopefully by their third and fourth year here, we've already set this tradition. These are very high expectations, and we're not going to let go of that. And so they know that coming in, and they're ready to strive for it. So again, I'm super excited, and I'm very thankful to have those coaches here from time to time to come help out.
And Coach Tager, as an alum of Brevard College, I'm sure you're well aware of this legacy.
Yes, absolutely. Like Coach Patrick said, Coach Rinker and Coach Whittick, they were kind of the pioneers of Brevard distance running in a sense. They really paved the way and sort of put Brevard College on the map. I think of most people outside of the Brevard College community, when they think of Brevard, North Carolina, they probably think first White Squirrels. They probably think second Brevard running camp. And so, Coach Rinker and Coach Whittick, they've worked really hard to build that running camp, and sort of at the back end camp is their legacy and what they did for Brevard back in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and just the amazing teams and athletes that they brought here and that they coached is just something that Coach Patrick and I can strive to emulate and can definitely learn a lot from. Every time that we meet with recruits, we typically meet with them in the Whittick conference room, and we kind of show them and tell them to look around and look at the success and the numerous trophies and national team championships and different types of recognitions that those two have brought to the college. And we say, this is not just a thing of the past. We want to help bring this to the present as well. And we want to do just like Darryll said, it's definitely a different time, and it's not going to be exactly like the 70s or exactly like the 80s, but we want to learn from them and sort of put our own flair into it and hopefully just bring success back here.
Yeah, just a tremendous legacy and history of distance running and cross country and track and field here at Brevard College. Love that history. In fact, in the 2020 Hall of Fame class for Brevard College athletics, two more track and field and cross country athletes are going into the Brevard College Athletics Hall of Fame. Robert Bob Gray. Jordan, you mentioned the 70s and 80s. He goes all the way back to the 60s, a 1969 graduate. He was a two-time national champion, and then went on to some big success in the armed forces track competitions, which were a big deal back in those days. And then Andy Latimer, class of 1983. And what's interesting about Andy, and we haven't even talked about this subject much, guys, he was a jumper. Triple jump, long jump, national championships, 1982 NJCAA indoor track and field national title in the triple jump. Also won a outdoor national title in the triple jump in '82. Can we talk about that event a little? The triple jump. I mean, you don't hear about it all that often. But
no. Let me tell you, like I have I have a picture or a list of all the school records on the wall, and on both male and female. And let me tell you, they're legit, and like they're legit school records. And you would thought we were a D1 program for sure. So yeah, I when recruits come in or some athlete comes in my office to talk and they see that and they're like, dang, like I really got to run that or jump that. Like yeah, you do. So they definitely had success all the way around, not just the distance running. That's like their main thing, but yeah, they've had some success all around, and they do it. They did a really good job of recruiting kids all around, not even here, like international, all worldwide. And so that's one thing I like to brag about is our school records are legit.
And you mentioned the ultimate running location we have here in the mountains of Western North Carolina. Ideal, mild winters, where you can, go all year round and all these wonderful trails. But we also have the luxury of the Frank Patton track right on campus, just the perfect location and also open to community use. Can each of you talk about the Frank Patton track and, how convenient and, useful that is for student athletes here at Brevard College to have such a nice facility right there at their doorstep?
Yeah. So I love it because, like you said, it's right there, right on campus. 2-minute walk. Can't complain. You're going to be late for practice. It's right there. It's nice and blue. It definitely sticks out. Great view though. You can oversee the mountains on one side, and and like you said, we share it with the community, and they're always very, very nice, very respectful. They see if we're having track practice. They typically wait until we're done, or they're hovering around the outer lanes where we're not really using them. So they're very nice and respectful of that. And I think that's what brings the community and our college together is that they see that oh wow, we got a track program that's really working hard and going out there and having fun every day. We want to come out there and support. And so hopefully down the road, if we ever host a meet and stuff, we'll be able to have those community members come and check out our meets and stuff. So it's a very nice track. Can't complain. I'm very glad we got one.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to add, I always remind our athletes how lucky they are to have such a beautiful track. I mean, because I graduated, the year after I graduated, they redid the track. And so back when I was there, it was like a orange, kind of reddish, faded reddish type of color. It wasn't the best. It was still in the same location, so it was pretty. But then they redid it with that just really cool blue, dark blue color. And so I think I always try to remind our kids how lucky they are to have this newly remodeled track. And just like Coach said, I think it's just more of a testament to how much of a running community Brevard is in general. Just outside of the college, the people of Brevard, they are huge running fans and they are huge enthusiasts of the sport. And I think as we continue to grow, there's going to be a lot of excitement from them as well.
Would like to just discuss a little bit further this access to the trails we have around here. Pisgah National Forest, just minutes away. Can you talk about that student athlete experience just a little bit more? I mean, are they literally running from the Brevard College campus onto these trails and into the hills and ultimately the mountains. How does that work from the student athlete perspective?
Yeah, they don't run from the campus to the trails. It's a little bit of a run there. It's about a 5-minute drive off campus on one end, in terms of the easier access for parking and stuff. So about 2 or 3 days a week, we'll get in the van. I'll drive down together, meet up, and usually run the bottom part of Art Lobe for recovery runs. But Art Lobe's a very popular run, very, very hilly, extremely hilly, and then North Slope's right connected with it. Those are the popular ones. Coach Taker can tell you more about them because he's ran these trails backwards, so he knows a lot more than I do. But in terms of experience, I think that's what gets kids out every day is they get away from campus for a little bit, for about an hour and a half, and just go enjoy nature, enjoy the forestry, and obviously be careful with animals, of course, but at the same time they get to enjoy the nature and having that soft surface, because there's a lot of other schools that they only have like one little trail or maybe just the track to run on, so they have to run a lot on the roads or sidewalks, and it's not necessarily the best for you. And I'm a big fan of and big support of soft surface, and try to run that as much as possible to prevent injuries. And so it's a tremendous help and a nice luxury to have those trails 5 minutes away. And on weekends, we'll go to the DuPont State Forest, which is about 20-25 minutes out. And we'll drive together in a van and drive down there and run the obviously hilly trails, but it's very more widespread. You can get about 3 or 4 wide, like dirt roads, stuff like that, to really have a good pace and keep it rolling. That way, you can get some good training in, and not just try to jump up and down and try to get through small little cracks of trails and stuff like that. So they love it.
Yeah. I think really it kind of goes back to Rinker and Whittick. They were sort of the first, I think, coaches to pile all their athletes in a van, take them out to the forest daily, and they really just figured out that they could use the forest to make their athletes strong, not just their distance runners, but their sprinters too. Hills are speed work in disguise. And I think Whittick and Rinker really figured out how to tap into that, and really figured out how much of a luxury we had here in Western North Carolina. And so Coach and I, we really try to sort of stay on top of that and just keep them off the pavement as much as possible, and get them out in the forest. One, just because it's better for their bodies, but two, like Coach said, it's just so beautiful. It kind of, when you're out there, you kind of forget that you're running. You just sort of feel like you're exploring, because there's just so much to see and so much to take in. And if you look at some of the most impressive or successful cross-country programs in the nation, like a Northern Arizona or a Colorado, they all train on soft surface trails or dirt roads. And it's just kind of crazy that we have so much to our disposal, just like those other unique, super high level caliber programs.
Makes a lot of sense. And it's interesting you talk about Coach Whittick and Rinker, really kind of trailblazing in this department. I remember when I talked to Robert Gray a couple months ago about his induction into the Hall of Fame, again, class of 1969. And Mr. Gray said that the teams of his years, which were the very first years of Coach Whittick, and even the coach preceding Coach Whittick, his teams cut some of those trails themselves, and also were certainly the first runners on these trails. Maybe they were hiking trails, and folks would use them, for to find a waterfall or that kind of thing. But he was very proud of the fact that the teams of his era were the first ones to really use them for training purposes. And here we are 40 years later, and still taking advantage of that formula. Before I let you go, would like you each to have the opportunity to give a message to prospective student athletes, future tornadoes, and just would love to hear from each of you as far as if someone's considering coming to Brevard College and perhaps being a cross-country or track and field student athlete, what would you like to tell that young man or lady? Coach Patrick, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so, if you want to go to a school where it's small, where you can get a great education, a small student to teacher ratio where you're going to get that hands-on learning, very good, unique perspective, education. You want to be in the hills or mountains of Western North Carolina, enjoying the forestry, the trails, love to run or love to compete and work hard day in and day out, love to have fun, understanding the patient side and understand it's going to take, years to see that success. And, if you want to go to a program where, you want to be prepared for life, this will be the program for you, because that's what we as coaches strive to do at each and every day, to make sure you're on top of not just your running or your workouts, your strength training. We want to make sure you're on top of your grades and making sure you're striving to be that career that you want to do, strive for. So if you want to go to a program like that, this is the place. And so you want to have fun, compete, this is the place.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of second what he said. I mean, you're not going to find a small college that has a faculty and staff that cares for you more than those at Brevard College. From the cafeteria workers to the teachers to the president to the coaches to the athletic trainers. Everybody at Brevard is on board, and they're looking out for your best interests. And not just as an athlete or as just as a student in their class, but they want to see you be successful at Brevard and in the future. I can't tell you how close I still am with many of my professors from Brevard College and some of my coaches as well. It just sort of goes back to that whole person type of growth that we're looking for. And so I don't think you can beat Brevard in terms of an experiential liberal arts education, in terms of small class sizes and that sort of thing, like Coach mentioned. And then just on the athletic side of things, from our perspective, just being a part of something bigger than yourself and being excited about growing together, and learning together and trying to have a little bit of fun along the way, and just sort of trying to tap into that legacy that Brevard College has from a running standpoint. But I think those are basically what Coach Patrick said as well. Yeah.
Very good. Head coach Darryll Patrick, assistant coach Jordan Tager. Thanks for joining this edition of Tornado Talk. Really loved catching up with you guys and talking cross country as well as track and field, and looking forward to seeing the cross country teams in action this fall, and then certainly track and field in the spring of 2021. Just want to remind folks, go to www.bctornadoes.com for all your news, stats, schedules, rosters, information, all things Brevard College athletics at bctornadoes.com. You can also follow the Tornadoes on social media, the Twitter handle at BC Tornadoes, also Instagram at BC Tornadoes, like Brevard College Tornado Athletics on Facebook as well as YouTube, and set those reminders to make sure you get all the notifications. That little bell on YouTube will tell you when the new video is up. And we'll be bringing you these editions of Tornado Talk every Monday night throughout the off season, and keep the discussion on Brevard College athletics going. Coach Patrick, Coach Tager, thanks again for joining the program.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.